The hallmark of Alzheimer's disease is the accumulation of amyloid plaques between the neurons in the brain. Amyloid is a general term for protein fragments that the body produces normally. Beta amyloid is the fragment of a protein snip from another protein called an amyloid precursor protein, or APP for short. In a healthy brain, these protein fragments would break down and be eliminated by the body. But in Alzheimer's, tangles are formed inside the neuron. They primarily consist of a protein called tau, which forms the part of a structure called a microtubule and helps to keep everything together and organized like a railway tie within the cell. The microtubule helps transport nutrients and other important substances from one part of the nerve cell to another. It is thought that when the amyloid plaques begin to develop outside of the neuron, it initiates a pathway inside the neuron that leads to the activation of kinase. Kinase brings phosphate groups to the tau proteins, and when this happens, the tau proteins change shape and stop supporting the microtubules and clump up with other tau proteins, making up the tangles. When the tangles are present, they are like a roadblock, and it's difficult for the neurons to signal to each other. They can undergo apoptosis, which causes the atrophying seen in the brain with the Alzheimer's disease. In Alzheimer's disease, the tau protein is abnormal, and the neuron begins to collapse or disintegrate. And as Alzheimer's disease progresses, brain tissue itself shrinks, but the ventricle chambers within the brain that contain the CSF fluid are noticeably enlarged on the MRI. In the early stages of Alzheimer's, it is noted when short-term memory begins to decline and the cells in the hippocampus degenerate. Those with the disease lose the ability to perform routine tasks. As Alzheimer's disease spreads through the cerebral cortex, judgment worsens, emotional outbursts may occur, and nerve cells and subsequent changes in behavior such as wandering and agitation can occur. And in the final stages, people may lose the ability to feed themselves, speak, or recognize people and control bodily functions. Our case study, Mrs. Smith, exhibits the signs seen with early stages of Alzheimer's.